Next week, we have our visiting author coming to us via Teams virtually. And he is a poet. He's called Josua Seigal. I'm hoping you've had a chance to have a look at some of his information on his website. And I've got 2 poems I'd like to read to you today from his book, I Don't Like Poetry by Josua Seigal. The first one is called Not a Care in the World. I worry a lot. In school, we watched a programme about the Great Plague, and for the next few nights, all I could see were bodies contorted and diseased at the foot of my bed. We talked about the Second World War, and I worried about what I would do if there was a war now, whether I'd be dead, and whether or not my family would survive. I asked my mum if she was ever alive during a war, and she said yes, of course. There are wars going on across the world all the time. But what about in England? I asked. She said she remembered the Falklands War, which wasn't in England, but did involve our army. I worry a lot. I worry about being poor and about famine. On television, I saw an advert asking people to donate money to another country where there wasn't enough to eat. The people in the advert were covered in sheets. They looked like barren winter trees. I wondered whether my mum would be able to love me if I looked like that, and whether I'd be able to love her if she did. I started hoarding cans of food under my bed in case there's a famine in London. I worry a lot, and it isn't just big things I worry about either. I also worry about lots and lots and lots and lots of little things. We had some maths homework I didn't understand, which I worried about until I cried over the breakfast table. And last week I tried to write a book review on a book I haven't even read. I'm worried that my teacher will find out and make me read the whole thing, maybe even twice. And whenever we have to get into pairs to go on a school trip, I worry myself sick about who I'm going to stand next to. Sam likes girls now, so he always wants to hold a girl's hand. James and Alex usually stand together. So now we're on a trip and my heart is a hammer in my chest. We're standing in a line, 2 abreast. I've been worrying about this for weeks. The birds of anxiety peck at me with their beaks as 2 old ladies pass us on the street, eyeing us as though they want to pinch our cheeks. Then one turns to the other and says, "It must be great being a kid, mustn't it? Not a care in the world." Our story this week was The Huge Bag of Worries, and this poem is about worries as well. We all worry about things, despite what the 2 old ladies say at the end of this poem. You are no different from anyone else when you worry. Just make sure you talk to somebody about your worries. And then the second poem I've chosen, I think fits in very well with what we're having at the moment, and it's called Haircut. When Mum gets scissors from their case, my heart goes wild and starts to race. I sit down on a kitchen chair. She starts to tinker with my hair. Hacking at my silky mane, she thinks it's some kind of game. She's never had one day of training, but her vigour can't be reined in. Giggling as she nicks my ear, she says, I have nothing to fear. She snips away so recklessly, I fear for my sanity. She seems to think it is a hoot. Then she'll reveal her labour's fruit. A haircut that she thinks is funky, but I look more like a monkey. Leaning on the windowsill, she smiles at her self-taught skill. Her new book really worries me. Beginner's Guide to Dentistry. I bet during lockdown some of you will have had your hair cut by your parents. I thought you'd be amused by this poem, and I look forward to seeing your funky styles next week when you come back to school. And we'll also enjoy a lot more poetry from Josua Seigal next week. Thank you.